everyone, welcome back to Great Sports Debates. Let's start out with the basics when it comes to sports betting. Contrary to popular belief, like poker, you can win money on sports betting. And it's less time consuming and more flexible than poker in my opinion, as well as the variance and luck being a little bit less. Again, that's in my opinion. There are two major ways to bet sports. The first is to dedicate the time and money to see the games, really watching every play, watching matchups, reviewing film, seeing individual players, evaluating strengths and weaknesses on teams, and where teams will scheme to take advantage of weaknesses. Vice watching the highlights or enjoying the game. The second way is to partner with a reliable winner, whether it's a paid subscription. There's some decent free information out there. I mean, honestly, I feel like my free videos on YouTube match any free service out there. But if you're looking to start betting a serious amount of money on sports, maybe checking out something like our pro level membership, formerly called the subscriber special, gives you that edge where you get not only the basics, but every single bet we make, how much, when, why, and access to answers for all betting and fantasy questions. After deciding how you're going to pick your games, the next is where to bet. Now, if you have a reliable friend that you can bet with, no juice, that's great. But there are a few problems even, betting with a reliable friend group. Getting paid. Even when you do, sometimes some people feel like you owe them something. And the biggest one for me is limits. What you can bet on and how much. That's going to be a problem as you grow because you want to look to bet every game where you feel you have an edge. And you want to be able to bet the amount that you can afford and the level you're at to make it profitable. It's great to have your, $100 bet with your friends for fun. But if you're looking at sports betting as a way to not only enjoy the games more, but to make some real money, you're going to need to eventually graduate to higher and higher stakes to make it worthwhile. Now that you have an idea of what games to pick, where to bet, how to bet, there's two standard options depending on where you're at. And you can find all this basic stuff on Google. You have your brick and mortar or online options. If you're in a state that allows online gambling, at this point I feel like it's far superior. Typically you're going to have the same or less juice. You're going to have promos and boosts that are going to be an advantage over the long haul. And most importantly, you're going to have the speed and convenience of being able to place bets at any time, wherever you're at. Now, granted, for instance, in Nevada, I have to be in Nevada to place my bets. I know some people say you can use VPN or whatever, but I don't think that's something that you get busted for if you're making most of your bets in Nevada. It's just not something I would do. But, you can be in your PJs watching the game and hammer a line early before it's adjusted. That brings us to the next part, is who you partner with online. Sure, you want to find the book that's best for you, but a thing to consider is to have multiple books, especially if you're online, because it's just speed and convenience. You're not going to a bunch of different places. Believe it or not, all these places are not going to have the same lines. They're not going to have the same odds. It'll be pretty close and similar across a lot of books for the straight bets. But as you get into more of the weeds, you can find some real weaknesses. Moving on, we'll get into understanding the bets. We will start with the straights, which are the most common. In this example, you have the spread total, and the money line. With the spread, you'll typically have minus 110 on both sides. This means you would have to bet 110 to win 100. And, that would just calculate across, 1,100 to win 1,000, so on and so on. The casino's goal is to get even money on both sides, so they win no matter what. Early lines limit the amount you can bet, but honestly, especially if you're starting off, that amount is going to be more than you'll be concerned with anyhow. The number will sometimes move if the betting is lopsided. For instance, I've seen games move as far as, last year there was a game, the Lions and the Vikings, where the Vikings, who had been, won a lot of games, but not really convincingly, and the Lions, who were kind of on a hot streak to end the season, the Vikings started out favored by 2.5, and by the time the game started, the Lions wound up favored by 2.5, and they won by plenty more. And there's information to get from that, as well as who's betting on what sides, how much money, all those kind of things we talk about more in our pro level memberships. And remember, the spread isn't how much Vegas thinks a team will win by, but a number that's going to get equal betting on both sides, because that's all they care about. One other thing on that, sometimes the odds will change too. Usually they just move the number to get betting on both sides, but it might be minus 120 on this side, minus 110 on that side. Another thing to look for is you want to have to be betting at a place where those spreads are tight. Minus 110, minus 110 on each side. That is a fair spot where you can make money. Some smaller places or out of the way stuff, you might have some crazy things where, it's a different number depending on what team you pick, or, the odds start getting really far apart. And those are edges where you lose money. Kind of like in me, when you look at poker and people don't pay attention to the rake. It's one of the most important things, but somehow, to a lot of people, one of the most overlooked. Next is the total, also commonly referred to as the over-under. This is the total points scored in the game. This is an overlooked and a lot of times wrongly used tool that I cover more in our pro level membership, but the basics is, if there's two teams that don't score a lot for whatever reason, you're going to have a lower number. If it's two teams that score constantly, it's going to be a higher number. And then it's just kind of evaluating weaknesses in that number, where maybe two teams are perceived as two higher scoring teams and you don't think they are, you might jump on the under, or a spot where teams have been scoring low or have the perception of scoring low for some reason, and something's changed recently where you can jump on the over side. And finally, as far as the basic betting setup that we're showing here, you have the money line, which no points are exchanged on either side. You're just picking the team to win. But the odds can be harsh for big favorites. So keep that in mind, whether that's worthwhile or not to you. Even stuff I've seen as crazy as, like plus 2,400. You have bet $2,400 to win 100. Now, granted, that sounds like a sure bet, but that game actually didn't go as planned. So it only takes one big hit to hit you there. And then in college football or some other sports, you can get numbers even a lot bigger than that. So it's just kind of how much do you have, risk versus reward, and how good that is. I feel like most of the times there's a lot of additional value. The place where I'll usually use the money line is if there's a team that I think is outright better and is going to win outright, and they're a small underdog getting a few points, where I just take the money line to boost up how much I'm going to win. For example, there's a game where Team B, I think, is going to win, but they're getting 2.5 points or 2 points. And instead of taking them with the points for minus 110, I take them for the money line at maybe plus 130 or plus 135. Just kind of increasing my money in lieu of the points. Again, this is kind of picking your poison and finding the value that makes most sense to you. Now, there's many other books or bets and types of bets on some books, and this is where you can find the biggest weaknesses. All those three basic ones are everywhere all the time, and the books compare other books and everyone else, and they're going to be usually pretty close in line of where they're at. And of course, there's weaknesses every week. If you watch the show I do where I cover those basic type of bets, we win every week. But these props, teasers, parlays, these are some spots where we do multiple unit bets where we have a lot of advantage on our side. There's certain things, I'm talking about college studied professionals that have made millions, that have found weaknesses in some of these things with certain set rules and things to look for. Not as a rule, but more of a guide where you can get strong percentages. And there's things you can do that with the total. And in particular, there's a lot of teasers that I really do like. So when I say units, like I talked about multiple units on some of these teaser bets, I'm making the bets relative because my relative bet might not be the same as yours. For instance, let's say my standard unit might be $1,000. So I say one unit as a comparable standard for everyone, as opposed to saying I bet $1,000 on this game, because it doesn't mean anything to you. Because to some people that would be a small bet where they'd just be like, oh, maybe this isn't something he's confident on. For people that bet tens of thousands of dollars on certain things or more. And to some people, that would be a huge bet. People that are betting $10, $20, $50, or $100 are thinking, wow, this is a huge bet. That's why we take it to units. So if you watch the shows, you'll see some of these key things that we look to do. 3 to 5 bets a week. And, sometimes I'll do more than that. But the profit margin, especially starting off, odd number, 3 to 5 bets are to get you your favorite things with the best chance to win. For instance, say you bet 4 games. You win 2, you lose 2, you lost money. So that's why I like 3 or 5, and even 1. If there's just one thing that you feel really strong with, you don't get as much variance there. That's why I kind of like the 3 to 5 range. You win 3, you lose 2, you still made a little. You bet 5, you win 3, you lose 2, you still win a little. You go 4-1 or 5-0, it's a great week. Sometimes you can do those with a few other bets added in. But again, say for football, for instance, you're going to have 13, 14, 15, 16 games. And there's a lot of things you can do besides just betting each game. You could have multiple bets in the same game. So finding 3 to 5 things that you like is not really that hard as you get more experience to it. And like poker, bankroll management is a key to not going broke. So hopefully this can get you started into the wonderful world of gambling. Remember to only gamble what you can afford to lose, because you are going to lose sometime. There is no such thing as a sure thing. Okay? Remember that. There's really great bets. There's things that, seem to be locks. And even if you're right and you have all the information, upsets happen. So, even the very best will have losing weeks. And we're talking about millionaire winners every day. As always, let me know if I missed anything in the comments section. Thanks for watching. Consider that pro level membership if you're serious to looking to boost earning potentials. And like, subscribe. I appreciate it a lot. And again, this is me trying to help you getting started in the betting world. So if you have questions, comments, or concerns, just let me know. Thanks a lot.